The trade deadline is upon us. The Padres figure to be busy once again. Welcome into Friar Territory. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside the great Mike Cameron. Mike, the Padres just took 2 of 3 from the Nationals. They have won 3 of their last 4 series. They have turned themselves into buyers at the deadline. Before it was kind of on the line where they're going to do, where they're not going to do. They were 8.5 back of the Dodgers. Now they're just 3.5 back. They're firmly in the race for both the NL West as well as an NL wildcard spot.
Yes, I mean, I wouldn't think anything else, Kyle, as far as being, sellers, when you have this type of, unless you just try to shed some payroll.
Yeah.
But, like we kind of knew that this team was going to be in a position to um, contend for a playoff spot, although, you're probably looking at it from trying to win a division perspective, but, the way the NL is shaped up, everyone seemed to be fairly close amongst each other, and it makes it for a tougher decision for the front office to decide whatever you want to do. But I always feel like when in doubt, man, you have the type of talent that you have, and the bullpen, some of the starting pitching that you have, then um, it's always an interesting playoff. We already know what can happen in a short series, and things can go crazy in a sense that's the expectancy of team that's supposed to win and then they don't win because it just baseball's that funny in a sense. So yeah, so I mean, so look, I mean, Padres once again they're on the up and up, and they're playing well. And you just at this point you're just trying to continue to keep people healthy. And also allow guys to continue to play and perform and just trying to win as many series as you can. And hey, you may get a chance to run up against your foe and
Yep.
make it really interesting, down the stretch and see where it plays out at.
So, Mike, we've talked a lot about everything the Padres can do, should do, what they have to offer. I encourage everyone to check out our trade deadline preview show that went out on Monday. But I want to dive into the player perspective of what
Mhm.
it's like to be traded. You were traded multiple times throughout your career. Now, never at the deadline. It was always
Yeah,
off-season
yeah, yeah,
trade. So it's a
yeah.
little bit of a different dynamic. But I really want to dive into the player experience because I think from the outside, we always just look at it as, oh, this player's going to make us better. This player's not. It's almost like looking at it from an asset perspective. But y'all are human beings with families, with places you love, and all of a sudden you're told, hey, you got to move cross country and you have one day to do it. It can get a little
Yeah.
hectic. So, what is it like as a player to be traded, both from when you hear about it to what it actually means you have to do to pick up your life?
Yeah, Kyle. Fortunately, I haven't been traded during a season.
Yeah.
I've only had to deal with it personally through my own kid being traded during the season a
Yeah.
couple of times, and it it would have drove me probably insane because I'm a comfort person, and so that would have made me, really unsettled, really crazy, the feelings or whatever it is. I think the closest thing I did that to when I got DFA from from Boston down to the now Miami Marlins. And so that was kind of a shift for me. But it impacts you in a way, man, because especially if you have family, most guys have younger families that are playing
Yeah.
baseball. And so when you have to upend your whole family and move them, it calls for many different challenges. I don't think the player, and then like it takes the player time to get adjusted to the new situation. Although the game is still the same, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the game is still the same. You just got new teammates, and sometimes it's for the better, and sometimes it's for the worse. And I've been fortunate to always be on a team that I think they kind of made a trade, make some trades or whatever. So to be able to bring other guys in, man, and just kind of make them feel at home, regardless of your status, of who you are, there's some guys that bring in that expect so much of what was going on that you had at your own home cooking, and you're
Yeah.
going to try to bring it to that place and continue that. You just have to understand too, like the type of player that you're trading for and bringing them into your organization.
Yeah.
A lot of things have to go right where you make the player feel comfortable enough to be accepted for them to go out and continue to perform at the rate that they were doing before they got traded.
Yeah, and again, comfort's a big part of it. And again, I think there's almost a sense of, oh, this guy hit this here, he should be able to hit this here, or he put up
Yeah,
numbers here, he should be able to do that again. But you talk about new environment, new coaches, new teammates, new opponents. It's not that simple. It's not a one-to-one transition. How difficult is it to adjust to new coaches and new teammates? Like, what is that process like from your perspective?
for the most part, I think the players get a chance to, you know, go through it like right away. The
Yeah,
understanding. Like the good thing about when you're in a clubhouse and you're playing the game of baseball, you get a chance to focus on just that in itself
yeah,
on a daily basis. And most of the time, if you're kind of a veteran, you probably got some other people handling the things that go around outside of you or whatever. But your little inner circle, you want to make sure that's secure so you can actually focus on,
yeah,
what's going on. Players talk and they know who is who. Just different situations. I always, as a player, so just for an example, I always, as a player, I want to know, like, what what time of day should I leave? Different routes to the ballpark, different routes away from the ballpark. Just like small, simple things of that nature. Um, is Starbucks on the way to my stadium? Do I got to go outside of my route,
yeah,
to make sure it happens? So, like the little things of that nature, man, um, can put you in a sense of, where you find your comfort as a player. And it probably the hardest thing to do is get traded on the road. Jeez, and you got to be on a road like
yeah,
that just chaos, and I've seen that from afar, and also seen it up close too. But
yeah.
man, there's just so many different aspects, as players, that you go through, that you got to try to harness, and be the best that you possibly can, because if you're getting traded and you're going to a situation where, um, you are going to a situation where you have a chance to go to playoffs or contend deep into a playoff run or
Yeah.
whatever it may be, the focus and the intensity is going to be there on a daily basis. And you need to be able to be at your best when you
Yeah.
enter those environments, especially down the stretch.
So the last thing I want to ask you before we take a break and dive into each of your trades and what each of those were like, what's it like just being in the rumors, constantly hearing, for a
Mhm.
week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, hey, you might be going here, you might be going there. What is that like? What does that do to a player mentally?
um I think, for most guys, they kind of understand it. You can't
What
really
was it like for
control
you
it.
though?
I got a chance to do it a few times. Um, where I was, kind of mentioning some trades that possibly, and for me, it's kind of like, it is I think it's cool for somebody else to like want you to have you on their team,
Yeah.
and you understand that, by the time I got to those particular moments, I was made sure I called in the office and kind of make, let's see, one was Doug Melvin. Doug Melvin was the general manager for the Milwaukee Brewers, and he would call us in the office, and a few of us, well, I think we fell out my second year there, and he's just like, what do you know, like, what do you feel like, what do you want to do? And I just like, man, this is, like, crazy. I don't really have no say over there, but I would like to stay here. But I understand if you got to make a move, whatever. And fortunately, I was able to stay put. I think that happened also to me a few times. In 2005, before I got, when Beltran came to New York after
Yeah.
'04, and I was just kind of like, the third leg, so to speak, for myself and the team. But it was just saying, like, they was just saying, well, he's not happy playing right field, and so why don't we just trade him for another right fielder, and da 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 da. And it's just like, I play center field, but it's okay. And
Yeah.
at the same time, I mean, I wanted to win, but like the New York stuff was crazy. I mean, it was because you get asked about it every single day, and it's a challenge. And fortunately, I never got traded in the middle of the season. Um, Probably the only thing I didn't experience in baseball, getting traded in the middle of the season. So, I'm grateful for my time, and I appreciate all the opportunities and the people who were trying to get me, and understand that from that perspective. And so, but man, it's hard. It's not easy when you're trading people or whatever. Like these guys that we talk about, we're talking about a few guys right now that possibly could be in on the Padres.
Yeah.
Some players are excited to come to new situations, and some people just don't want to leave, although their situation is good at where they are, and it makes for a hard change.
No question about it. All right, Mike, we're going to dive into the details of all the times you were traded, how you were told or not told, and what some of the drama behind the scenes was. We're going to take a quick break, hear some words from our sponsors. We'll dive right back into that.
Kratz, what do? I'm in a bind and I need to make some food at home. I would like it to be home cooked, but I don't want to deal with any of the grocery crap.
HelloFresh, get it done. And they'll start to know when you're in a bind and they'll figure it out for you, sending something new whenever you order it. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it is. And there are dozens of menu items to choose from each week. They can also help you out if you need a little assistance. They can kind of cater to what your needs are or what your preferences are. They'll do a little Q&A session for you, and then you can be the star at home. Kratz is a superstar dad at home for his HelloFresh expertise. And if you want to get involved, then you can make sure that your summer is more enjoyable and delicious at HelloFresh.com/FT10FM. Get 10 free meals with a free item for life when you do that. HelloFresh.com/FT10FM. One per box with an active subscription. Free meals are applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan.
All right, Mike, I want to dive into the 3 times in your career you were traded, how it went down. I know there was some mixed emotions at times. I want to go to the first time you were traded, November 11th, 1998, traded by the White Sox to the Reds for Paul Konerko. How did you find out?
Well, I found out because I was playing winter ball. I sent to winter ball in Dominican, and was just trying to get back on track after struggling. I struggled through a sophomore season, and just trying to get back on track. And I got down there and was playing well, and was on my off day and folding clothes up. After washing clothes, and saw my name go across the ticker, and just like it's just crazy to be able to see something like that. It's like, whoa, like that was my first experience, and it's like, man, I just got here. I'm just getting started, and and I guess
So wait, you
the,
found out from watching TV. No one called and told you. You found it. You were traded
no
from watching
one.
TV.
Yeah, I did get a. So Dave Miley was my manager, who was a part of the Reds organization. So, he was the first one that got notified. I think, in '98. I don't think we were like in too much of the cell phones yet. So,
No.
um, but yeah, that's how I found out. I didn't get nothing from a Chicago official at all. I won't never forget that. What it made me feel like. Cincinnati was, all on board, and I got a call from,
Wait, what did it make you feel like that no one from the White Sox ever called you to tell you you were traded?
just because, like, man, I just like, hey, man, like I put so much of my time in there, and just kind of like disrespected. Like I understand, you don't really owe me anything or whatever, but the common decency to let somebody know that, hey,
Yeah.
we're doing this, and this what it is, because you've been promoting me as one of your premier guys for a long time. And I stunk my second year, which was a learning experience, and I wanted to make sure that I was prepared going into the next season,
Yeah.
and to get back on track the way I was supposed to. And Cincinnati welcomed me with open arms, man. And another place I thought I was going to be forever, considering the situation. But I did get back on track. That we end up winning 96 games and losing that one game play in against the New York Mets, which was, like crazy, crazy. And we're on the verge of starting to
Yeah.
do something against the reigning guys at Houston Astros. So it was exciting for that particular part of it. But yeah,
Yeah.
crazy.
And going back, I've talked about this before. The fact the White Sox never called you, never told you you'd been traded, you never heard from anyone in the organization.
Yeah.
You took that personal and you took it out on them on the field. It's not a coincidence your 4 home run game came against the White Sox in Chicago.
Yeah, man. Um, I did. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. I don't know if that was like the, the feelings, the reserved feelings I had for what was said. But I was pissed. I was like, man, come on, like, and this is like what you say you guys are gonna be better than me. So I made sure, dude, when I got I was on spring training, I wanted to make sure everybody saw me. I probably had a day off that day, but I was going to go play. If it was in Tucson, I was making a trip. Whatever it was, like I just never forgot. Like every time I played against the White Sox, I was at the most optimal focus, relaxed where I was. And for the most part, I would say that, my numbers kind of speak for them. I could not allow somebody like no one talked to me. And so I just needed somebody to like to see me. And I wanted to make sure that all of my boys saw me over there. And every time, like, man, I just wanted them to know. I'm like I said, I used to go on spring training trips. I used to make spring training trips to make sure that they know that I'm still coming every single time. And it was mutual respect, So I kind of got it, but I wanted to make sure every piece of damage that I could do was in a series against the White Sox every single time.
Absolutely. And you certainly made them pay in a big way. Mike, the second time you were traded, the big one, February
Yeah,
10th, 2020, traded to
yeah.
the Seattle Mariners as one of 4 players for Ken Griffey Jr. Where were you when you got the call or heard that deal went down?
Well, I was packed up, getting ready to go to arbitration for the Cincinnati Reds.
Yep.
Headed down to Sarasota, Florida, and I got that call, and that was
Was
well,
Jim Bowden the GM?
yeah, Jimmy was a GM. But I got it on both ends. On this one right here, like Jimmy did let me know, but they had to make that deal. And I also thought that Pokey Reese was going to be a prime part of it. They talked about that for a little bit, but I'm like, wait a minute, these guys need a center fielder. Like they need a center fielder. So, I was still kind of, in my youthful age, and that was that one for me was mentally that was tough. That was tough mentally. It was a different situation, but it was tough because I just felt like, man, like I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I made sure that, man, just having to go through this, um, like this guy's been a pillar. He's been one of the all-century players already and everything. And
Yeah.
it's little old me having to go out here and play center field. I can play, but man, like I hope you guys don't expect me to throw out 50,
Yeah.
whatever it is, and just the caliber player that he was. I knew I was a good player. I understand that I could be a very good player, and but that challenge was tough. I didn't really have no one to talk to about this. It was only me in this. Although the other people came, Tom Cole and Myers and the other kid, I don't want to
Antonio
mess up his name,
Perez.
and Antonio Perez. I knew that I was going to be the center of focus because I played center field,
Yeah.
and so the first thing that happened was after all of it went down, I just was kind of just like I just almost had like a nervous breakdown because like put all these thoughts and these things in my head of what I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to become and what if I don't and what's gonna happen and I'm going to Seattle, everything changed. And
Yeah.
I remember I was sitting in a chair holding my oldest daughter and I was like, oh my God, like what am I gonna do? And I just started going through these numbers and what I could possibly do or whatever it was. And I just remember then I started thinking about like, man, and the manager's crazy because he throws everything. And man, it turns out it was the best thing that happened to me uh, that pushed me mentally, physically. It pushed me a little bit more to become a better player. And I think that is something that I'm forever for grateful for because Pat Gillett believed in me
Yeah.
so much so. Uh, After that first year, they I didn't have to go to arbitration no more. I got a 3-year deal, and so that first year though it was hard. Those first couple of months, just getting accustomed to being the guy
Yeah.
for the great one that left, and that was just that's right after the year before they lost Randy Johnson. So
Yeah.
now you're losing Griffey, and it's like we're going downhill. But we had a good team. Pat Gillett did a good job putting a good
Yeah.
team together, and I will never forget the call I got from Lou. He's like, son. He said, I know you're a pretty good ball player, and we're not expecting you to do Griffey things, but we're gonna make you a better ball player. And that was like the best feeling or whatever. And and the words that he said was maybe he understood what I felt like I was going through than more than anybody else. But man, like he was special. Lou was special for me, really special.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and it's time now for our DraftKings player spotlight. Padres have had a lot of good players, but there's one in particular I want to focus on here as they continue their series against the Miami Marlins. As we know, for most of the season, the Padres offense really struggled, particularly the bottom third of the order, and Xander Bogaerts was a big part of that. Over the last month, he has been not only one of the best hitters on the Padres, but one of the best hitters in all of baseball, and he is the focus of our DraftKings player spotlight today. I think it's really important to establish just how low Xander Bogaerts fell. On June 17th, he had a 615 OPS. That ranked 146th out of 155 qualified hitters in Major League Baseball. He was one of the 10 worst hitters in Major League Baseball. And we saw the effects of that. The Padres again and again and again would get something going at the top of their order. And as soon as you got to that 5 or 6 spot where he was hitting, nothing good was happening. Obviously, there's a lot of frustration building. To Xander Bogaerts' credit, he did not get down on himself. He was able to tune out all the noise. We saw him start to get a little bit better mechanically. I talked about this with Tony Gwynn Jr. Again, he was just way out front, way on his front side. He started getting a little more balanced. We started seeing some more hard contact. But the turnaround Xander Bogaerts has been nothing short of remarkable. So as I mentioned, 615 OPS, 146 out of 155 qualified players. Truly one of the worst hitters in baseball. Since then, beginning on June 18th, Xander Bogaerts is hitting a major league best 375. He has an OPS of 1,018, which is 9th best in Major League Baseball. So once again, he was one of the 10 worst hitters in baseball up through June 17th. And since then, he leads the major leagues in batting average and is top 10 in OPS. He has been one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball. And it's just so important to give Xander Bogaerts all the credit in the world. Look, he was doing some good things. I think he deserves a lot of credit for his play at shortstop this year. He's been very shorthanded. He's been very reliable. Again, the range is not what it once was. Not that it was ever great, but we've seen him do a lot of the smart veteran things, those instinctive things that help make up for some of that. Pre-pitch positioning, quick first steps, taking efficient routes and angles. Again, the arm strength is not great, but he's been really good about getting the ball out quickly. At the end of the day, he's finding ways to make things work. And on the base pass, too, he's 16 for 17 stolen bases. And we've seen him steal in a lot of really opportune moments. And he's shown a really veteran savvy of knowing when to go. Just the counts, the pitchers on the mound, the game situation. The defense and base running have been strong all year. And now the offense is clicking. With Xander Bogaerts hitting as well as he is, this Padres offense has taken on a little bit of a new dimension. We're starting to see some more games of 7 runs, of 8 runs. Again, there's still too many games of 1 and 2 runs, but all of a sudden, the Padres have a threat in that 5, 6, 7 range in their order now with Xander Bogaerts hitting, Jake Cronenworth starting to hit. And it certainly has made things a little more interesting at the trade deadline where you say, okay, now we can go get 1 extra hitter. Realistically, you want 2, but it's not as dire as it was when Bogaerts was struggling. So Xander Bogaerts turning everything around has been absolutely remarkable and a huge part of the Padres' recent success. And he deserves our DraftKings player spotlight for today. All right. So, with that, it's time now to make some picks for the Padres' upcoming game against the Marlins. Edward Cabrera is on the mound for Miami. Realistically, I'm going once again with the man we just talked about, Xander Bogaerts. I'm picking him to stay hot, get another hit. I'm also going to go with Luis Arias getting a hit. He torments his former team. And that's all you have to do at DraftKings Pick 6. Pick two or more of your favorite players, over under, whether they'll get more hits, fewer hits, more strikeouts, less strikeouts. It's really, really simple. It's a lot of fun to play. I encourage everyone to check DraftKings Pick 6 out now. Pick 6 from DraftKings is the most fun way to play fantasy sports. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL for new customers to get a special sign-up offer. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
The common theme here, communication is key. The White Sox did not communicate with you. The Reds did.
Yeah.
And the Mariners especially did. It made a big difference in that transition. And Mike, the final time you were traded in your career from the New York Mets to the San Diego Padres, November 18th, 2005 to Xavier Nady. How did that one go down?
Well, just due to the circumstances of the situation I was in, if I wouldn't have gotten hurt, I probably would never gotten traded, and we probably wouldn't know about those things. But I don't know if I could ever been the same in that situation again. Although I consider be tough as nails and all get out, but that right there shook me to my core. I felt like more so baseball, it was life changing. And that's a challenge. And when it's things in that nature are life changing, then I just felt like, man, like I gave a year for something to work and it didn't work. So let me be me now. Let me go back and be me. If I can play baseball, let me go back and be me. And so Omar now,
given what
man,
happened, how did you find out and how did you take the news?
Well, it was in constant communication all the time. This was constant communication, and I after I was well enough to speak, I was saying, man, I just think it would be better, in this situation for, as I already knew that I was, being talked about, as far as being a trade guy and people needing someone. And so I know for a fact that when I told him, I was like, I just don't think it's going to work for me after this if I'm able to play baseball again. And
So you actually told
they
them
were in
that you
constant
thought you needed to
communication.
go somewhere else.
Yeah. I was like, man, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it. I'm just not gonna be able to do it out here. Although I would love to, I understand where the verge of where this is going on. It's just better for me to be somewhere else. And lo and behold, I didn't know I was going to San Diego though. Oh my God. We just talked about it. I didn't know where I was gonna go. And so I just was just nervous and I prayed about that. And I was just like, man, all I asked for was one more opportunity, and lo and
Did you
behold, I
have
get
somewhere in mind that you did want to go?
to be honest with you, not really, Kyle. I just like it's gonna be really hard for me to play right field. And playing like that, knowing the way that I played. So it was difficult. I didn't know where I was gonna go. And all I knew is like I turned down San Diego to go to the Mets, and sure enough, because I love San Diego, man. I've always loved San Diego. It's a beautiful place, and
So in 03, the Padres, offered you a
oh
contract.
yeah,
And turned it down to
oh
go to
yeah,
the Mets?
yeah. Oh yeah. I just said that, man. If I'm gonna be, if I can't stay, if I can't stay in the West Coast and the Northwest, then I'm gonna go east so my grandma can see me play, and I know that New York is a place that. For one, I get a chance to come back to Atlanta 3 times, and I'm always on TV, so she gets to see me at a decent hour.
Yeah.
So I thought of it in that nature. But
When you did,
Cindy,
so you had that familiarity. When you did hear that you've
yeah,
been traded to the Padres, what was your reaction? Like, hey, I'm going to San Diego. What was your reaction once you heard that?
my mind was blown. I'm like, there's no way, there's no way, there's no way that I've got to go on this field, the place where I got hurt at, and
Yeah.
be the everyday guy. Like I was and be center field there. But in another aspect, I was excited because I was just like, oh, like I get a chance to face everything that I went through right away. Just getting back on the field, let alone being in a place where, it was just like it's just perfect. It was just perfect situation.
Yeah.
I mean, winter, my sister died. She was in coming back from a vacation and she had a pulmonary embolism. And man, just like I was already going through so much as a player and just going to San Diego in like December, when they had to go do the physical and all those kind of things like that. And it's just like it's sunny, it's beautiful out here, and it's like 70 degrees in December, man. So it was like a special thing. But I've getting a chance to play in San Diego. I've always admired it, always liked it. But this time, now San Diego was starting to put together some good teams and had been in the playoffs and facing them, whatever. And me knowing a lot of those things, I was like, this is kind of a cool situation. But it was just a blessing in disguise for me, Kyle, going to San Diego and getting a chance to live on the beach, getting away from the madness in the city of New York and being on the water. All of those things were benefited for me,
Where
just to
did you
be able to
live
calm my mind.
when you were a
Uh, I
Padre? Where did
lived
you
in
live?
I lived in La Jolla Village.
Nice. You could
So
walk
I
down,
lived
see the
I
seals, see
lived
the ocean.
yeah, I lived 2 blocks from from the actual beach, ocean, all that stuff. 2 blocks, so I could walk down there. But I could see it from the where my condo set up on the
Yeah.
hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So it's just everything. I mean, everything um, was beautiful for me in San Diego. Just
Yeah.
so much.
Nice.
I'm so grateful. San Diego actually saved me, baseball wise, mentally, personally, all type of ways.
Yeah, and the trade worked out both for you, also for the Padres, back-to-back 20 homer seasons, helped them win the West in '06, came close in '07. Mike, before we wrap up here, there's one other trade dynamic I want to dive in with you on, and that is helping to recommend or not recommend a team acquire certain players that maybe you know from a previous team.
Oh
So
yeah,
Padres acquired you from the Mets. The
yeah,
very next year, they swung another trade with the Mets to bring in Heath Bell, your former teammate in New
yeah.
York and one of the fellow co-hosts here at Friar Territory. I have to ask, did they ask you at all about Heath before the deal? How did that all go down?
Uh, Not really. I think he was fairly young.
Yeah,
Uh, but I just know he was like a little TNT bomb. But had the ability, definitely had the ability. Um, but bringing Heath in, was another one of those back end because I think we had lost like Scott.
line break.
Yes,
Yeah,
Line Brink was very reliable in front of Trevor Hoffman, and they felt like maybe he had that type of potential,
for sure.
and would benefit from being a closer in the minor leagues and
Yeah.
and being a late inning reliever, um,
So they didn't ask you
being with
about him,
Trevor
but when you
Hoffman.
found out that he was coming because you knew him, what'd you think?
Yeah, yeah, I thought it was like, I mean, I mean, the addition was welcome, and I just knew that, I mean, look, he could put down some six packs. So,
Yeah,
but he was always cool though. Like I just know he was fiery,
yeah.
real fiery guy. Weird thing, this guy used to run full speed out of the bullpen. I just like, come on, like, what are we doing here? But that was his thing. That's what he was able to bring, that type of energy on a daily basis. But man, like, players when you get them because you see them play. Like I stand behind majority of guys and pitchers or whatever. So you got an idea and understanding of who they are and what they're all about.
He was your teammate for 2 seasons in New York. When you first saw him, to come give him a hug, say what's up? Was it more of a head nod? Like, what's that reunion like?
Yeah, so for me, considering how I left, everyone was really just concerned with me personally, and and how it was going from the healing perspective of what I went through, because everybody, saw that front and center.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. So, and look, like in New York, we was on the verge also too of like still, like getting back into the mix, and
Yeah.
shaking up some things in the East. Although Atlanta still was head and shoulders above
Oh,
everybody
oh
else, and
06, won the division, reached the NLCS. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So, and so I got a chance to get back to the playoffs also that same
Yeah.
year, and I was felt very good and very grateful that I was a big part of what happened,
Yeah.
in San Diego. It was just so refreshing. I think I still got a picture that when I was on my knees and one of the champagne bottles, and I was on my knees and I was holding the bottle up like this on the floor, and Jeff Blum and them was pouring champagne all over me, because that was the first time for me since 2001. So
Yeah.
man,
It's been a few years.
just the full circle of things that took place
Yeah.
in San Diego, man. Just forever grateful. It's just like near and dear my heart. If I could live one place and I didn't have any restraints, it would be in San Diego for sure.
Absolutely. So look, all the trades, right? Different scenarios. White Sox to Reds. You were shocked. You
Yeah,
were kicked off. Reds. It was more that you, in your words, nervous breakdown. Oh crap! I'm going to
yeah,
Seattle. Got to face Griffey. In San Diego, it's a
yeah,
little bit like, man, I'm going back to the place where I had this horrible injury, but you're able to rebuild your career in. And I think what's interesting is
yeah,
different emotions. Each
yeah,
spot was a step where you got better. You got better in Cincinnati from Chicago. You became
yeah,
a superstar in Seattle. After what
yeah,
happened with the Mets, wondering if your career was still going to happen. You get to San Diego. It's like, hey, yeah, you can still play and
yeah,
still play at a high level. For the record, I was looking at this like, how did Mike only make one All-Star team? That's ridiculous, man. You were definitely worth
yeah.
more than that. And I was looking at that '06 season with the Padres. You should have been
Yeah.
an All-Star. You got robbed.
Yeah. I got robbed of a lot of things. Yeah, sometimes I feel like, especially that year, I thought I should have been comeback player of the year, but they gave it to Nomar. I'm like, did not people not see that I was on the ground? They had
No,
to
he had
strap
a
me
he had a
down.
wrist issue. Your entire face was like needed reconstruction.
Exactly, bro. Like literally,
Ridiculous.
like it's so crazy. Like how the heck did he win the comeback player of the year? I said, if it can't win it from coming up off the ground and get my clothes cut off of me and get 9 placing screws in and come back and playing baseball. And that, I mean, they gave me a gold glove because I was like, hey, if I'm gonna be out here, I'm going to get this back just to show 'em.
For sure.
But yeah, man, it was yeah, man. Like it's some things that stick out a lot more than others. And sometimes I, can remember a lot of things, sometimes I don't. But I
Yeah.
do, like I do feel like I just played at a time, man, where it was difficult and
Yeah.
to be recognized in a sense, but because they had their favorites, but whatever. But I know I
It
was
all
solid
worked
and
out.
I had a chance. Yeah,
It all
definitely,
worked out.
definitely,
So, all right. Well,
definitely.
Mike, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your insight on what it's like to be traded, what these players are going to be going through over the next week or so. We'll see how it all shakes out. Appreciate you as always.
Always, Kyle.
All right, everyone. That'll do it for another edition of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. Go ahead and give us a review. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, whatever platform you're watching, listening on. Hit me and Mike up on Twitter. We love talking ball with you. For Mike Cameron, I'm Kyle Glaser. Thanks for watching, listening. See you later on.